What? I just smile.
Holes on us and tell us nothing with Senator?
It's the only way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, when you review Alabama this year, obviously the loss to Ole Miss, but the teams that have challenged them, two things in particular. Number one is the ability to throw down the field, to not let them use that front seven to stack the box. I'm curious, in your minds, you're obviously not going to reveal your game plan, but how important is it to be able to throw down the field in this game, to not let those front seven stack the box?
I think it's very important. I think it's no different than most of our other games, though. I think we go into about every game realizing that some people, if we're not able to throw the football, are going to stack the box. And if we're not successful at that, I think it makes for a long day. So we feel going in that we need to throw the football downfield, and we need to have success doing so.
Coach Warner, can you talk about an under-the-radar guy like Trayvon Pendleton and just kind of the impact he's had on the team this year with a couple big plays there in the Michigan-Ohio State game and just the kind of under-the-radar stuff he does?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that, he gets anywhere from 15 to 30 snaps a game, depending on how things are going for us with the fullback in the game there. But he's a guy that we appreciate as a coaching staff because we understand the job he does, sort of does the dirty work like an offensive lineman almost sometimes. But unlike an offensive lineman, he gets a little bit of glory once in a while with big plays. And he always has a knack for popping up with something like that at the right time. And, maybe this will be another opportunity for him.
How exciting is that when he makes those big plays?
We understand his talent. I mean, he's a talented guy. I mean, he's more of a running back in high school than a fullback. So the ability is there. He just understands his role and patiently waits for the opportunities. And we try and give him those opportunities, and might be one this game coming up.
Jim, I wanted to ask you about Jack Allen and what about him makes him so effective in that position of center, and then also talk about his growth. He said his first year or two he felt like he was just out there trying to survive, to where now he's calling out protections and making changes. Just talk about that growth from Jack as well.
I mean, in the realm of his position, he's really becoming a great overall football player. Number one, he's really, really, really an exceptionally tough guy and great leader on our football team. And it's great just to have him back in the huddle all the time from we had to survive that spell without him there. But he's really takes the learning very seriously, as you alluded to, the run and the pass part of things, and does a lot of running the show up there, communicating to everybody what to do, and does a good job. And there's not very many guys up front who are that kind of athlete that he is, who can pull and run around and do all the different things that he can do.
Dave, you worked with a lot of quarterbacks here and a couple guys who are in the NFL now. What separates Connor Cook? What does he do better than the other guys you've had?
I think probably the thing that sticks out first and foremost is his accuracy. I mean, he's got a very good sense of timing, anticipating windows. I think he throws the ball downfield more than quarterbacks we've had in the past, which might be good, might not be good. But because of that, any of our vertical game or down the field throws, the only way he can be successful there is to anticipate windows. And he's been very good with that. And I think part of that's working with receivers. Certainly I think him and Burbridge got a great relationship this year. Lip, previous, goes on and on. Those guys have to be on the same page. But his accuracy this year stood out for me. I mean, there's been some games where he's put the ball on money time after time after time, and it's not a great pass, and you're really surprised that he didn't put it in the money. It's one of those deals. So that's been really impressive to me this year.
I want to ask you about Alabama's defensive line. Are there teams you guys have faced in the past couple of years that have had anything like them, and how do you deal with the depth they're able to roll through on the front there?
Well, probably not the numbers of guys. I mean, you always play against an exceptional guy here or there, but they have them across the board, and then they have numbers too. So I mean, that's a real challenge, and they do a great job of rolling them. So they seem like they're pretty fresh in there all the time. But hey, that's one of the things we have to get done. And they play with great technique, and hey, it's a challenge, no question.
Kind of following up on that for either of you, in terms of their style, Jack Conklin today mentioned, Oregon a little bit. I mean, I know they're 3-4, but they do a lot of different things. Maybe Notre Dame from a couple years ago. Who would you compare them to that your guys have seen in the last couple of years?
Well, they play a lot of odd front with a true nose, and we have played some teams like that, like Jack alluded to, Oregon, and a few other teams that we played. But they cause you to do some different things scheme wise. But the biggest thing is the technique. They do a good job. They're much more head up. Cause your footwork to be a little bit different, and all your hand work to be a little bit different. And that's all part of it that you have to get ready for.
Jim, how far do you go back with Coach D?
With Coach D to 1986, Youngstown State.
Did you see any of this success for him back then? I mean, could you have envisioned this?
No, we never sat and talked about this is going to happen.
Right.
No, but he was always an intense, fiery guy as a position coach. When I first met him, I can guarantee you that he was ready to go every day, and was a fun guy to be with. That's for sure.
Could you both talk about how he's changed over the years, or maybe he hasn't? I don't know, both of you.
For me, when I was with him, it was his second full-time job. He'd only been a full-time coach 1 year before that, and he's certainly grown as a leader of men and people and the whole organization, and does a great job reaching out to people, reaching out to all of us, and it's been great to see him grow in that way, and I haven't always been with him through all those years, but I've been with him from time to time, and you see some of the changes from year to year, and it's fun to be. It's absolutely a blessing for me to be here with him now. Believe me.
Yeah, I started working with Coach D at 1990 at Kansas, right after he left Youngstown with Coach Bowles, and probably along the same lines. He's grown as obviously as a football coach, but especially as a leader, and he's taken it beyond the football field. It's not just a farce when he talks about building relationships and taking care of young men off the field as well as on the field. That's legit. That's how he coaches. That's how he lives his life, and I think that's very obvious. And I think that leads to success on the football field. I think players understand who he really is and what's very important to him, and that's the relationship end of it. And again, I think players appreciate that and play well for him.
Coach, Aaron Burbridge over here, Coach Warner, has made a great deal of progress. He's made big play after big play. Can you talk about his maturation as a player and kind of this breakout year that's been spectacular?
Yeah, we had high expectations of Aaron coming into the season for sure, for him to be the go-to guy. We've had high expectations for him for a few years now, but this was his opportunity. I talked with him. I'm sure a lot of us on the offensive staff talked to him right after our bowl game last year that, okay, he's the guy now that needs to really sort of be the go-to guy, be the Tony Lippett, be the guy that was sort of our number one receiver. And he understood that, and he really took that. And I think even though he fought through a couple of injuries in the spring and summer, he's worked hard to be that guy. And I think, again, him and Connor have worked side by side, communication, first of all, on the football field, and second of all, film study and communicating and getting themselves on the same page. And that's what's critical to a receiver-quarterback relationship is being on the same page, and I think they've gotten to that. So he's taken advantage of the opportunity, bottom line, and he hasn't surprised any of us, but this has really been his opportunity. He's taken advantage of it.
Question for both of you. Start with Coach Bowles. But when you were hired, Mark Dantonio said he liked bringing in a coach that's been in the national championship games that could bring that experience to his staff. How has that reason was one of the reasons he said he brought you. So what have you brought to the staff as far as having been there, done that you can relate? And then for Coach Warner, would you talk about his impact having been there, maybe in anything he's been able to say?
You don't often think about those times that you've been in those games. I've been in some as I alluded to before, wonderfully blessed situations to be in some big football games, and, and year after year after year. And it's been that way since I've been here. This is, really when you stop and think about it that way, it's incredible that the big games that we've had, the big games we've had this year. Well, some of that is you don't change at all. Some of that is you better stay even keel for number one, yourself. If you can get so emotionally involved, all you guys talked to me about what it's like to play Ohio State, what it's like. Well, if you let that go totally out of whack, you don't do your job very well. I don't know that you coach your players as well. And I think there has to be a steadiness involved in that. But the bar has to be very high all the time, all the time. And that's just the way it is if you're going to be any good. And there has to be a consistency. If you're going to be any good, especially for us on offense, you cannot be up and down. And there's always an element of that, but you're trying to eliminate that, and you're trying to do that, I guess you'd say, in your life as you're getting ready for these games.
I think from my end, or more specifically from our end offensively, as offensive staff, I think Coach Dantonio sat down with me when he made the move, and Coach Bowles came in. And what's happened over the 3 years that Coach has been here is exactly, like a lot of things, exactly what Coach D envisioned, exactly what he told me when he sat down with me and said, here's my thoughts and here's my plans. And it's worked out to a T because Coach Bowles came in and we've always been an offensive staff that works very well together and everybody contributes, and that's continued. And Coach Bowles has brought new ideas, new techniques, whether it be techniques, new ideas in the run game and the pass game. And, you go back to when all this went down, we talked about, things aren't broken offensively, but we certainly need to tweak things and add things. And Coach has brought some of those ideas in. It's been a combination of everybody on the staff, but certainly Bowles has brought some of those things with him and been a big part of us going from 2012 and the first couple games of 2013, if you remember those fun times, of getting things rolling offensively and really turning what was sort of an offense that was struggling a little bit to get it going the way it is last 2 years.
Question for both of you guys. First for Coach Bollman. I don't know, if you've gone up against, you've coached a lot of years as you alluded, have you gone up against the Nick Saban defense? And then for you, Dave, if you can reflect on the Capital One Bowl, and does Alabama look the same now?
You're going to go there, really?
Yeah, well, it happened. It's in the history books. It's there. If you can reflect on the now, and I'll give you some time to collect yourself and think about that. And Coach Bollman, have you gone up against Saban before?
I don't think I have.
And what have you seen, what are the characteristics of a Nick Saban defense? So much is made of his defenses.
Well, I think there's a mark of consistency, like I was talking about. Guys get lined up; they don't get fooled very often. They're good up front. They're very sound in what they're doing, and they're always going to do what they need to do. There's every game's different. That's why statistics sometimes can really be misleading, where. This team doesn't blitz very much. This team doesn't play this coverage very much. Well, you do what you need to do to win a game in that moment. Some of the same situations for us. We like to run the ball all the time, and keep it mixed up. But hey, sometimes you gotta throw it, and there's other times we've had to run it. Well, it's at the moment what's happening, and I think that his defenses have shown that they have the capability to do what it takes. In that particular instance.
Coach Bollman, have you ever, where does this tight end group rank among groups of tight ends that you've coached in the past, and how are they able to collectively all stay involved in the offense?
Well, my years coaching tight ends is much fewer than coaching the offensive line, but so in that regard, we're certainly right up there at the top. They all have different roles, and they all do a great job taking advantage of the role they're given. And they've certainly grown in a lot of areas. They're very multiple guys. They do a lot of different things for us, and they're capable of doing pretty much anything we ask them. And they take a lot of pride in trying to be decent blockers. And we talk about if the ball comes your way, that's fine. Then there's some things that you don't always have control over in the passing game. You can run great routes, you can do, but still that doesn't mean you're going to get the ball. But you can always have a direct impact on the football team on how you're blocking. And I think they understand that, and they try to do a good job of that. And Paul Lang's a guy who's had a great senior year. He has really raised his own bar and has done a super job for us in any aspect we've asked of him.
Since both of you guys knew Mark before he worked with Nick Saban and afterwards, did you see any changes in those two times and what kind of influence he has and Nick Saban has had in sort of the way Mark runs a program or coaches?
Any thoughts?
Well, I think Mark's like any of us would like to be, that when you work with so many people, as all of us have, you try to make some decisions, or you really like the way this particular person runs or acts or does this part of his job, and you'd like to, for lack of a better word, copy that aspect of things, and there's other ways that I don't want to do it like that. And certainly he's worked with some great folks along the way, and you can see tidbits of all those people in what he does. Probably going clear back to his position coaches at South Carolina, because he's really coached the Coach Evans, who passed away last year. So I can see all different aspects of him every day. So of the people I was with him when he was with Coach Saban. I was with him as Coach Tressel. So, he's done a great job of mixing and matching and making himself a great head coach.
Thanks, guys.
Good.